Are you really an overthinker, or you just think things through to find fault with yourself and blame yourself for the whole situation? Welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new here. Today I'm talking about identity theft, aka the act of self-blaming. From where I come from, for example, kids from childhood were groomed to see adults as people are always right. Adults don't apologize. Even when they're wrong, we have to apologize on behalf of the adults. So adults are not held accountable. They get away with a lot of things. But there is so much fault in that, and that programs a lot of kids to be stuck because they're afraid to be achievers. They're afraid to step out of kind of like a culture system, so they don't break rules enough. And when I mean break rules enough, I don't mean they should do bad things, but as in change the status quo of their family and be better people and change the whole status of the family, change the mindset of the next generation. Most people are carrying a lot of guilt which were put in them since they were children. And as we know, guilt is a spiritual weight you carry that is not even yours. It's from other people. You feeling guilty is you blaming yourself or carrying the weight or the accountability that's supposed to be carried by someone else. So in this video, I'm going to break down the psychological reasons why a lot of people are in that mindset. The one reason why most people love to self-blame or take the guilt is to have control over the situation. Let's say, for example, someone who is being abused would take the blame in order to feel like, if I blame myself for this, the next time I can be a changed person, or I won't do that behavior that made them hit me, so it won't happen anymore, right? Someone who was essayed or is essayed before would find a way to blame themselves in order to take control of the situation, and in that way they'll be like, oh, if I didn't smile back at the guy, or if I didn't wear that dress, maybe I wouldn't have been in that situation. That is you wanting to have control. That's a psychological reason why you blame yourself. It starts mostly from childhood of blaming yourself. And the second ways that people develop the self-blame attitude is when they're in toxic relationship, especially with narcissistic people. A narcissist are people who don't mostly take accountability for their behaviors. They like to find people who are non-narcissistic, who are non-toxic, and kind of like live through them in some way. So even when they do something wrong and you point out to them, they'll be like, no, are you crazy? Like, why would I ever do that? And then you sit down and be like, maybe it wasn't real. Maybe that's not what it meant. And you gaslight yourself. And the moment you start thinking through about your own, kind of like the things you see and the things you know it's not right, when you start questioning it yourself, you start doubting it. You're like, maybe I'm reaching here. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm too like, yeah. You've gaslighted yourself, and everything that happens in that situation, be ready to gaslight yourself and blame yourself for their own attitude. And as we know, sometimes too, narcissistic people could be insensitive. They're not mostly in touch with their emotions. So they might be people who are not empathetic, and that would make you feel neglected emotionally. So you would end up blaming yourself for their mood. Maybe they're not in a good mood today. You realize, oh my gosh, maybe I've done something wrong. Maybe I don't deserve love. That is some ways that narcissistic people use to make you cater to them all the time. Okay, they want you to always come to them. So they intentionally give you the silent treatment. I feel like people who give silent treatment are abusers, emotional abusers. I feel like people who just switch up mood for no reason. Sometimes you could be talking to them, and in the middle of talking, they just zone out and withdraw. And they just look you dead in the eye, and it seems like they're pissed. And you're like, are you okay? Is everything okay? And they're like, like they're bored. Like what you're saying is very unnecessary. And you start pandering to like you start blaming yourself, like, did I say anything wrong? That is an emotional abuse. And most narcissistic people use that. And they are very much aware. They are very much aware of what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And the third way I see that develop is childhood. If you ever experience these four things when you're a child, your emotions being invalidated, always being blamed for other people's stuff, being guilt-tripped into apologizing to adults, and being shamed for being yourself, you mostly develop low self-worth and you end up blaming yourself for things. And when I say invalidated, you could tell your parents, this is how you feel. Mom, I feel this. When you do this, I feel bad about it. And they'll make you look like you're stupid, you're a kid, you're supposed to be in your place. Like, you feel so invalidated. None of your feelings seems real to them. They seem like, is she okay? Like, you're a kid, talk like a kid. And most parents invalidate their kids. They don't listen to them, and they just make them handle their own emotions on their own. As a parent, I feel like you need to, until that child is an adult, you have some emotional responsibility to carry. Most kids, all kids don't know how to manage their emotions, and they need help from the beginning. So when the kid comes to you and opens up to you about something they are feeling or how they feel or something, you're supposed to listen to them. Even if you have something to say, listen to that kid. So far as they feel heard, they feel safe. It brings some kind of safety to that kid. They feel like, oh, if anything, I can go to my mom or my dad, and they will just listen. Yeah, that makes that kid feel safe and protected. But if that kid comes around and you scream at them and yell at them and you tell them, that is not true, that is not real, what you're feeling is, like, just get up and do this and do that. That kid, I promise you, will never come to you about anything ever again. And if you try to guilt trip that kid into, let's say, for example, I have my candy or I have my doll and I don't want to share with other kids or my siblings. Your parents will try and guilt trip and be like, oh, do you know how much I suffered to buy that doll? Do you think I only bought it for you? You're supposed to share with other people. And they just make you feel bad for wanting your space and wanting your alone time to be with your doll. Growing up, my parents used to do the same thing. Like, oh, do you know how much, if they give me something, and they always say I'm ungrateful, but that's not the reason why. You know, as a kid, you have abundant mindset. And I think that every child, growing up, I see other kids and how they want everything. I'm like, yep, it's the abundance mindset that kids have. When they see other people have something, they want it too. Or when they see something, oh, mom, I want it too. And then that's where your mom is going to tell you how much she suffered to grow up. Do you know how much I suffered when I was growing up? You should be grateful I gave you this. You should be grateful I bought you this. You should be very grateful and thankful. I never had this when I was growing up. That was your experience. You're not supposed to guilt trip me into not wanting what I want. I feel like those things shouldn't be said to kids. I don't believe in that, okay? As a grown-up, I don't believe in it. I'm not going to tell my kids they should not want things just because I didn't get it as an adult. If I have the money, of course I'll get it for them. If I don't have the money, I'll still tell them, yeah, if that's what they want, they can get it. I will continue to install the abundant mindset in those kids' mind. Because everything is gettable. You can get anything you want. Like, I believe in that. I believe in you can get anything you want. So far as that's what you want. And if your parents have the money, they should get it for you. If they can't get it for you, they shouldn't blame you for what they went through as kids that their parents didn't give them. That is you guilt tripping your child to wanting less for themselves. Next one is if they were blamed for things in childhood. If adults never apologize to them, that kid grows up believing that everything is their fault because adults are always right. They see adults as this kind of authority. Like, if someone is older than me, everything they say is right. Everything they can never be wrong. I have to, even when they do something wrong, I have to apologize to them. You tend your kids to be victims of abuse, of falling prey to abusers and manipulators. Because any adult, anyone who's older than them, can trick them and SA them, can trick them and steal from them. Because you've installed this fear of adults are always right. And it's not true. I'm an adult. I know lots of adults who are not sensible. So that is not true. You should teach your kid wrong and right, period. It doesn't matter if it's coming from an adult or a child. I remember one time I was crossing the streets. I was with my best friend. That was some years ago. And when we got to the street, when we got to the pedestrian pass, there was a red light. So we were supposed to stop. But over here in Spain, sometimes when there is no vehicle in sight, you can just walk by. So I was with my best friend, and as we were standing there was no car coming. So I was like, oh, there's no car. Let me just walk by. So I crossed the streets, and this kid with her dad is like, Daddy, you told me that we shouldn't cross the street when it's red, right? And I heard her dad said yes. She's like, the girl just did. She's such a bad person. And I ended up laughing so much. This is a man who is raising a kid to do right by society. He's raising a good citizen, and that's okay. I was raised the same too. I just do bad things on my own. I mean, I wouldn't do that if I'm with a kid. I wouldn't cross the street when I'm with a kid. But if I'm alone, I'll do it. I don't know how she's being raised, but I pray she doesn't raise like point fingers at people, because you should be minding your business as a kid. Anyway, and also shame. there is a lot of shame in our society. You are yourself, people shame you for it. You're a gold digger, people shame you for it. You love men or you love women, whatever sexuality you are, people shame you for it. Shame brings a lot of low self-worth, a lot of inauthentic people, a lot of people pleasers. It brings about that. We shouldn't be shaming people. Unfortunately, it happens, but I feel like we shouldn't be shaming people for being themselves, except when they are doing something which we all agree is not right. If we all agree that thing isn't right, then yes, you should sit down. Seriously, you should sit down. But if it's something that feels authentic to you, and even if people don't understand and it feels authentic to you, and it's not hurting other people, if it's not hurting anybody else, then I don't think we should shame people for that, especially people's sexuality. I don't think we should care what people choose to do with their body. If they love men or women or whatever, we should just let them. So far as it's not hurting other people, I feel like it's okay. But if it's something like theft or murking people, then yes, we all know that's not right. Then we should hold them accountable. If that means we should shame them, fine. But people existing, if someone chooses to be a dancer, if someone chooses to be whatever they want, there's some parents, if their kids choose to follow a different career path that they are not okay with, they try and shame their kid by comparing them to other people. Oh, look at this person's child, they did this. Like, you should be shameful. That's not even a good thing to do. Like, if that's what your kid chooses to do, they do it for themselves. But most parents take their kids' achievement as theirs. Like, you're doing it for me. I hear a lot of parents say when their kids don't want to go to school, they're like, go to the school for me, just attend school for me, okay? Like, why would you even tell your kids that? Instead of us to sit with a kid and be like, okay, you don't want to go to school, do you have any talent or anything you would love to do, like any skill you want to learn? Maybe the kid does. I know a kid who didn't want to go to school and they wanted to play football. I mean, now they're adults. And their parents never listened to them. They're like, oh, you should go to school and be a lawyer and be this and be that. Because they felt the kid dropping out of school at an early age to pursue football career is shameful. Because they see footballers as people who are not really educated. Like, oh, footballers can read and spell, like blah, blah, blah. You should be a judge. Say, mom, that is you living through your kid. Maybe you wanted to be a judge and you couldn't be a judge. If that kid doesn't want to be a judge and they want to play football, they want to be a coach, they want to be a musician, they want to be a guitarist or whatever, let them be. Like, don't shame people. You install that inauthenticity in people. People live in careers for so many years and that is not where they want to be, and they end up being sick and just doing it to please people. You just raised a people pleaser. Do you know that? We don't need more people pleasers. We don't need more people pleasers. We need authentic people. So parents out there, if we as the youth, we want to do something, allow us. You never know where that thing will get us to. Yesterday, I came across a video of Tiwa Savage, and she was talking about how her parents told her to go to an accounting school when she really, really wanted to be a musician. They're like, oh, you should be an accountant. She pursued accounting, was in it, and she still didn't feel fulfilled. She stopped working as an accountant in her 30s to pursue music, and now look at how successful she is. Taraji P. Henson too, the same. Like, let people be themselves. Let people be themselves. It doesn't matter. Look at Michael Jackson, look at Beyonce. Those people didn't really have any major education, but they are richer than people who went to school, and they employ people who go to school to work for them. And also, I realize some people fall into that trap because of a trauma response. Let's say, for example, there are some people who don't like confrontation, okay? Not everyone loves to be confronted. Not everyone loves to be in arguments or try and prove themselves. And sometimes it's a trauma response. It's different from keeping the peace and avoiding conflict. If you avoid conflict, that is a trauma response. You are afraid to confront people. You're afraid to be in conflict. You fear conflict. That is a trauma response, and it stems from self-blame. So you avoid conflict to keep the peace, to avoid taking any blame. You avoid conflict. You're like, oh, I don't want to confront them, then later I feel bad about it. Like, no. So you just avoid it. So you determine no conflict as no self-blame. If I don't get into conflict, then I don't fall into the spiral of finding the fault and blaming myself. That is because you've experienced loss or betrayal or something really traumatic when you try to express yourself when you were a kid or as an adult. A lot of people who experience betrayal or loss, like they lose someone because they stood up for themselves, they kind of shrink into that self-blaming, like it's my fault they left, I shouldn't have spoken it, I shouldn't have said anything, I should have just kept quiet and just let them do whatever they wanted to do, blah blah blah. That is a traumatic response. It's okay to have conflict. The chaos is part of life. Sometimes it's not always a smooth sail, you know. Sometimes there are waves and turns. It's okay. Conflict will arise. You don't have to avoid it. Put down that traumatic experience. We all face betrayal, we all face loss. I have lost people, family members, even a parent, not like lost like as in they're out of here, but distance, like a lot of years passed without us talking because there was a lot of friction, and it's okay. I learned to accept that. I'm human. They are human. There is misunderstanding. Of course, there's going to be conflict when we don't understand each other. Take that as a period of time where you guys are getting to know each other. Whenever there is conflict, this is how I see it now. I see it as this is the time I get to learn about them, what they like or how they think. It's two way or the other. You can take conflict in a positive way or in a negative way. I take it as, oh, this is how they think. Let me listen. If I don't agree with something, I also share my opinion. But if they're not people who are willing to listen to me when I want to share my opinion, I walk away. I don't argue with them. I cut it off. And I distance myself, not in a traumatic way, not because I'm avoiding conflict, but because they don't understand me. We're always going to be in conflict. So in order to keep my peace, if they're not people who want to listen, except when there are people who are willing to listen to me when there's conflict. If you have someone who listens to you even in conflict, then yes, then it's a misunderstanding. You guys can solve it out because they're willing to listen. They will listen to you, so you guys can find a ground. But there's some people who don't listen, who are always arguing, raising their voice. They don't listen. I will avoid you, and I think the friendship will end there. Not out of, oh, I feel betrayed. How would they do that to me? How would they walk away from me? But in a way, as in, there will never be peace. And I'd rather choose peace over disturbing my own mind, you know? Don't ever let people make you feel like, oh, you're so sensitive. You're too sensitive. Oh, man up or woman up. It's nothing. This is nothing. That is a toxic person who is trying to bring down your self-esteem and put the blame on you, make you feel like you're crazy, gaslight you. Anytime you notice that, just know it's a psychological abuse. You don't have to blame yourself for your husband divorcing you. You don't have to blame yourself for your dad not taking care of you and leaving the house and never even wanting to see you. It's not your fault. Honestly, it's not your fault. Your dad chose to live the life he lived, and you were supposed to go through that situation to be who you're supposed to be. Sometimes take the blame of those people, take the blame of yourself, and just see things as it is. Just, that's how it's supposed to be. That doesn't mean I'm not loved. That doesn't mean I'm not worthy of love. That doesn't mean I'm not worthy of attention. You're worthy of anything you desire. Just that your dad doesn't know your worth, that doesn't mean you shouldn't know your worth either. You know your worth. It's your responsibility to know your parents who didn't take care of you, know your parents who never listened to you, know your parents who abused you. None of that. Know your partner who divorced you. Your worth doesn't lie in someone's ability to stay with you or leave. If you tie your worth to the people around you and look into their faces to see if you look cute today or if you're loved today, you're always going to question your worth. Put your own self first and identify your worth without anyone validating that. Tell yourself, I'm worthy of that. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of this partner. I'm worthy of this and that. Add tags to it and be better. Be that person who you desire to love you. If this is the type of love you want, maybe if you want someone who brings you flowers every week, who takes you shopping every month, who takes you on vacation every 6 months, do you do that for yourself? Are you working to be the type of girl who deserves that? Work on that. And wait and hold on. Don't settle, okay? Wait and hold on for the right person. Work on yourself internally. Do the work. If you're someone who blames yourself and you don't feel worthy of love, because people who blame themselves don't feel worthy of love. They always choose people who abuse them even more. Take yourself out of that cycle and reparent yourself. I had to reparent myself. I had to heal my inner child, reparent myself. I went to therapy for 2 years. I was in therapy For the first year, I would say it was a funeral. I was crying all the time. For the first year, I couldn't talk to my therapist without shedding a tear. I was unpacking, and that was heavy. I realized I was carrying a lot of things from my childhood. When I show you pictures of my before, like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, or even 3 years ago, and my face now, I'm a totally different person. I've unpacked a lot of things. Like, it made me cry. Because I was living this blame. I remember when I was talking to my therapist, and I had issues with one of my parents. So I was telling her, this is what happened. And every time I blame myself, and I didn't even notice that. And my therapist was like, were you the only one at fault? Like, was it a conflict between two people, or was it a conflict with yourself? I was like, yeah, it's a conflict between two people, me and that parent. And like, so why are you the only one taking the blame for it? They're also human. They also make mistakes. I think you're programmed to see adults as people who don't make mistakes and they know everything, like they are always right. And I'm like, oh shit, that's true. When I was growing up, and I told them when I was growing up, because my therapist was like, I think these parents should also come to the realization that they were wrong and they should apologize to you. And I was like, from where I come, I told my therapist, from where I come from, adults don't apologize. And they're like, well, so then you shouldn't either. And I was like, okay, if you say so. I mean, and in therapy, that's when I realized, oh, two people in conflict, we both had flaws and we did what we did. We both have to apologize to each other. Maybe the adult should apologize first, because you should have known better. I am the kid, I'm the upcoming. You should have known better. And that was when so after therapy, after 2 years, that's when I realized, okay, I was programmed like this to grow up and self-blame myself and apologize for things I didn't do, and to kind of like take everything on myself and feel like, oh, it's all my fault. And I was in a couple of years of guilt, even when I was in therapy, I was still living in guilt. It got to a time where I stopped therapy because I felt like I'm doing the wrong thing, you know? Me breaking away from that old behavior felt like I was doing the wrong thing. I was like, no. If I don't blame them, like if I blame them, then they're a bad person, and that's a parent. Like that's like, no, it's all my fault. And I stopped going to therapy. So I remember my therapist would text me and I won't respond because I was like, no, it's my fault. I have to take responsibility for that, blah, blah, blah. And I sat back, and one day I was like, you know what? It's not helping me living in guilt. I feel stuck every time I come back to this same cycle, and it doesn't get better. I keep attracting the worst things. I keep being treated bad. I'm going to try this new thing of not blaming myself. Let me see how it takes, or what it takes me, or where it takes me to, whatever. And just like that, I went back into therapy this time, full mood. I was just doing my work. I had lots of assignments for my therapist to do this, try this, read these books. They even suggested I do a YouTube. I was like, oh, I don't think I'm ready. And as soon as I broke free from that and I stopped blaming myself and I accepted my part, like, okay, this is the part where I did wrong. I am going to work on that. And I accepted the part where I was wrong. After I did a reflection, hey, as soon as I left that thing in my past and I moved on, I realized my face started changing. Even my face became more symmetrical. My face became more glowy. My skin I started sleeping better. I was living like carefree. It felt like I'm in my own world and everybody else is like renting. I'm like, okay. And it's like, even sometimes my other parents would bring up the issue of, oh, wouldn't you call these parents of yours? And I'm like, oh, do they even exist? Yeah, they do. It's okay. They'll be fine. I pray for them that they should also heal, because there was so much kind of like peace in healing. I just let it go. I just moved on. I was just like, living my life. I started traveling. I started making new friends. I started doing my YouTube. I got a new apartment. I started choosing more like better partners. I'm now single because I don't see the one. Like, it's like I even valued myself to the extent that I don't want to have intimacy with any man who I know doesn't worship me. It's like, worship me or die. Like, if it's not that way, I don't want it. And I've stood by that. At first, I would just date people because I'm bored. Now, I'm like, no. You all don't deserve to touch me. You all don't deserve to even see me. My presence is even so expensive. I don't want to be seen by random men. I don't want to be touched by random men. Today, I went out to meet a friend in his family. I had to do 1 or 2 things for them. And the uncle was trying to put his hand around, like, no. And I'm like, I literally did that. And it's like in public. We're just in public in the city center. They're like, oh my gosh, why? Don't you want me to touch? And he tried to bring it there. I'm like, no, I'm not comfortable you touching me. And he went like, oh, you're different. I'm like, I don't know what you mean, but yeah, maybe. I don't care. Once you start valuing yourself, you receive the best of the best. Okay, you receive the best from a lot of people. At first, I didn't know my worth. I'll just date people because I'm bored or because they're cute. Just superficial stuff. When I realized my worth and I broke out of that self-blaming behavior, I've added so much tags, and now men who mostly come up to me are men of value, like so much value. Businessmen, I'm talking like men who are just... Anyway, that's all I have for you in this video. Let me know in the comments below. Have you been stuck in that kind of situation? Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've been through that. If you're working towards yourself, let me know everything in the comments below. And in the next video or next time, I will talk about the spiritual side for those of us, because I do both, mental and spiritual. But those of us who love the spiritual side of things, I'll bring the spiritual perspective of self-blame and identity theft. So stay tuned for that one. And I love you guys so much. Be the best version of yourself. Bye. Yes, I have a question for you. Is it really your fault?